The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of 1,000 species working in concert. Maya stood before the panoramic viewport, her 4 eyes tracking the movements of the human delegation below. As a senior archivist of the Galactic Council, she had cataloged the rise and fall of civilizations for 3 centuries, yet nothing in her extensive records had prepared her for humanity. "They're smaller than I expected," remarked Kethnar, her Vrelian colleague, his crystalline form refracting the starlight into rainbow patterns across the deck. Maya's tentacles twitched in what her species considered a shrug. Physical size has never been a reliable indicator of capability, though I must admit their records are peculiar. The humans had appeared in council space only 6 cycles ago, emerging from a backwater spiral arm that most civilizations dismissed as resource-poor and strategically irrelevant. Their delegate, a young man named William Chen, had approached the council with a request that bordered on absurdity: membership without the standard probationary period. William stood now in the council chamber, his dark hair slightly disheveled, his posture relaxed in a way that unnerved the more formal species. He wore what the humans called a suit, a primitive garment that somehow managed to look both uncomfortable and dignified. "Honorable council members," William began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix, "humanity understands that our request is unconventional. We lack the military heritage of the Kryn Empire, the technological sophistication of the Architect Collective, or the economic might of the trader clans." Maya leaned forward, her recording tendrils already documenting every word. This was the crucial moment. Every species that had ever addressed the council had spent this time boasting of their achievements, presenting elaborate displays of their capabilities. William, however, did something unexpected. He smiled. "What we offer instead," he continued, "is adaptability, innovation, and perhaps most importantly, a perspective that the galaxy has never encountered." The council erupted in a cacophony of debate. Chancellor Vorthek, his massive form dominating the central platform, raised a clawed appendage for silence. "Bold words, human, but the Zarkith swarm approaches our borders. They have consumed 17 civilizations in the past decade. What can your species possibly offer against such a threat?" William's expression didn't change. "Give us 3 days. Allow us to observe the swarm's patterns. Then judge us by our actions, not our records." The request was granted, though Maya noted the skepticism rippling through the council chambers. She had reviewed humanity's file extensively, a species barely capable of interstellar travel, with no significant military victories, no advanced weaponry in their arsenal, nothing that would suggest they could stand against the Zarkith. The swarm arrived on schedule, a writhing mass of biomechanical nightmares that blotted out the stars. 300 vessels, each capable of devouring a planet's resources in mere hours. The Council fleet, comprised of 50 of the galaxy's most advanced warships, moved to intercept. Maya watched from the observation deck as the battle began. The Council's strategy was sound: concentrate fire on the swarm's larger vessels, disrupt their coordination, exploit the brief windows when their regenerative hulls were vulnerable. It was a strategy refined over centuries, proven effective against dozens of aggressive species. It was also failing spectacularly. "They're adapting too quickly," Kethnar observed, his voice taking on the discordant tone that indicated stress in his species. "Every tactic we employ, they counter within minutes." Maya's attention shifted to a small cluster of vessels holding position at the edge of the battlefield. 7 human ships, laughably small compared to the Council's dreadnoughts, doing absolutely nothing. "Why aren't they engaging?" she wondered aloud. As if in answer, William's voice crackled over the command frequency. "Council fleet, this is Captain Chen. We've completed our analysis, requesting permission to implement countermeasures." Chancellor Vorthek, his ship's shields failing under sustained swarm assault, barely hesitated. Permission granted, any assistance would be. The human ships moved. Maya would later struggle to describe what happened next. The humans didn't charge into battle with overwhelming firepower. They didn't deploy some devastating superweapon. Instead, they did something that no species in galactic records had ever attempted. They used chaos. The 7 human vessels split apart, each following trajectories that violated every principle of fleet coordination Maya had ever studied. They wove through the battlefield like threads through fabric, seemingly random, apparently suicidal. Swarm vessels turned to intercept, their predictive algorithms attempting to track these erratic targets. And that's when Maya understood. The humans weren't trying to destroy the swarm, they were trying to confuse it. Each human ship transmitted different signals, some mimicking swarm communication protocols, others broadcasting contradictory movement patterns, still others emitting what appeared to be complete nonsense. The swarm, which had adapted so efficiently to the Council's organized tactics, suddenly found itself facing something it couldn't predict: true randomness wrapped in intentional chaos. Swarm vessels collided with each other, their coordination dissolving. Attack patterns became fragmented. The hive mind that had conquered civilizations across the galaxy stuttered, overwhelmed by conflicting data. William's ship, distinguished only by its slightly brighter running lights, dove directly into the densest concentration of swarm vessels. Maya's 4 eyes widened as she watched the human captain do something unprecedented. He deactivated his ship's main engine mid-flight, allowing momentum to carry him forward while simultaneously redirecting all power to his communications array. The effect was instantaneous. Every swarm vessel within range of his broadcast began transmitting the same garbled signal, creating a feedback loop that spread through the swarm's entire network like a virus. "Impossible," Kethnar whispered. "The swarm's encryption is theoretically unbreakable." They didn't break it, Maya realized, her recording tendrils working frantically to capture every detail. They didn't even try, they just made it irrelevant. The Council fleet, recognizing the opportunity, pressed their advantage. With the swarm's coordination shattered, the battle became a rout. Swarm vessels, stripped of their collective intelligence, were easily isolated and destroyed. Within an hour, the threat that had devastated 17 civilizations was reduced to scattered debris. Maya made her way to the docking bay where William's ship was berthing. She needed to understand, needed to add this to the records in a way that made sense. William emerged from his vessel looking exhausted but satisfied. His suit was rumpled, and there was a coffee stain. She'd learned that term on his collar. "Archivist Maya," he greeted her with that peculiar human gesture, the smile. "I assume you have questions." "Your tactics aren't in any galactic database," she stated. "Your approach to warfare is fundamentally different from every civilization we've encountered. How?" William gestured for her to walk with him through the station corridors. "Earth's history is complicated. We've been fighting each other for millennia. Not just different species, but members of our own species with different ideas, different cultures, different goals. We've developed thousands of different approaches to conflict, and we've learned that the side that can adapt fastest usually wins. But the chaos, the apparent randomness, wasn't random at all," William interrupted gently. "Every movement my pilots made was calculated to produce a specific result. We just made sure those calculations were invisible to the swarm's analysis. You see, the swarm was looking for patterns because that's how every civilization thinks. But humanity learned a long time ago that sometimes the best pattern is no pattern at all." Maya processed this information, her neural clusters working overtime. "Your species developed these tactics fighting yourselves. Wars, games, competitions, debates. Humanity has been testing strategies against itself for our entire existence. Every failure taught us something new. Every victory revealed a weakness. By the time we reached the stars, we had thousands of years of tactical evolution that no other species had experienced. They reached the council chambers where the debriefing was scheduled. Before entering, Maya touched William's arm gently with one tentacle, a gesture of respect in her culture. "I will update humanity's records," she said, "but I suspect that no matter how detailed my documentation, it will never fully capture what makes your species so formidable." William's smile turned slightly melancholy. "That's probably for the best, archivist. The moment you can predict humanity is the moment we're no longer useful to the galaxy." The Council granted humanity full membership that day, without the probationary period, without further debate. The human delegation celebrated in their own unique way, with something called pizza and an alcoholic beverage that Kethnar found absolutely disgusting, but Maya discovered to be surprisingly pleasant. As she updated the galactic records that evening, Maya added a new classification to humanity's file. Not under military capability, not under technological advancement, but under a category she created specifically for them. Unpredictable adaptive intelligence. It wasn't scientific, it wasn't precise, but it was accurate. And in the margin notes, visible only to senior archivists, she added one final observation. The humans won not because they were stronger, smarter, or better armed. They won because they had spent their entire existence learning to fight themselves, and in doing so became unbeatable to anyone else. The galaxy would never be the same.